got some parts in.
In these two boxes here, the two white boxes, we have control arms and then a steering rack. The steering rack is a Z3 steering rack and the control arms are M3 control arms. Currently on the way, we've got bushings, which includes steering rack bushings and rear subframe bushings. Diff, rear subframe, trailing arms, everything is being redone. So today I'm gonna try and get all this on. Obviously the steering rack isn't really gonna go on, but I kind of want to fit it up, see how it's gonna fit. And then I want to get bolts for the hubs so I can put those on and then get the control arms in. I don't have the bushings for the control arms, but the ball joints will be installed, and then that way all I have to do is slide on the mount. Since it's poly, it'll just slide on and then I can bolt that up with the bolts I'm given. Obviously this is the M62 under here. I have it flipped over. There's the oil pump. Last week I pulled out a single rod and it looks amazing. It was one of the ones that was low compression. So I imagine the rings had set, but if you actually look at it, it really has no skirt wear. I mean, it's got a little bit, don't get me wrong, but all things considered, it's really a good looking piston. Now I will say before I pull any more out, I need to clean off my table. This is just a rat's nest of shit. So as soon as I get all this off, I can put the pistons down, put everything down, and have everything organized so I know where everything is supposed to go. So here's our control arms. They are Dorman. A lot of people said not to go with Dorman, but I mean, I'm gonna be beating the shit out of this anyways, so I'm gonna probably have to buy a few of these, and they're really cheap. Like, I literally paid $80 a side, and it was free shipping, because I literally bought them through Amazon. So, I mean, it seems to be high quality stuff, considering that it's Dorman, and I mean, the ball joints look fine. And I mean, I get an aluminum control arm. I mean, this thing is like super light. Then we've got our steering rack. This is obviously a Z3 steering rack. It's a 2.7 lock to lock. Apparently it doesn't just straight bolt up. Apparently you need some spacers that go here and here, and then it'll bolt up. I don't really know why that is. I'm sure it's for clearance reasons. Okay, so getting this on was a pain in the ass. I ran to Lowe's and I was able to get a lock nut. And now this guy is kind of in. I did not know there's like a pin back here for this to slide in, so that'll actually hold that in place, which is nice. So I don't need these two bolts at the moment. What I'm gonna try and do is get in this control arm down here, and I kind of want to see where this sits. I think it'll sit like sort of out here. Obviously I won't know until I have those inserts down there, but I can kind of get an idea of how far out it's gonna be, just based on the ball joints. It's nice that they really come with all the hardware you really need, because this guy kind of just slides up like that, and then I gotta put the camera down so I can thread this in. So I'm not gonna super snug everything up. I'm probably gonna end up using an impact just to tighten that down, but that sits about there, which is where I expected it to be. And then this guy will sit all the way out here, which is exactly where I expected it to be, and it's exactly where I want it to be, so that's perfect. Especially with the fender on, it's just like, it's so cool seeing a wheel hub hanging. It just, I don't know, I'm a nerd. So I got the rack in too. Obviously this is gonna have a bit of play in it up here, and then there's obviously a big space down here that needs to be filled. I think, now that I look at it, the company that makes the engine mounts for the M62 for these cars also makes like these things for the steering rack, and I'm wondering if that's what it's for, because it says it only works with like E30’s Z3 steering racks, and I think maybe the purple tag racks, where it basically flattens this out. It changes the geometry of this to make it more flat, which might compensate for that amount of space. I think maybe, I don't really know, but I think that's probably what that is. So I might look into that, think about doing that. I don't have to worry about like all these spacers and shit, because that just doesn't feel right to me, putting spacers into a car to make things fit. It's just kind of weird. The main goal as far as suspension went was to still be able to pick up the car from the front end, and I can still do that. So I'd say that's a plus. That is like really good. I still have, you know, tie rods to go, and, you know, little spacer things, little like mounts for my control arms. But other than that, I can still pick this thing up, which honestly is really really good. That says a lot about kind of the weight of this car. I personally don't think it's gonna break it loose, but you never know. It's worth a shot. Nope. I think y'all kind of know what's going on here. Just by looking at it, I'm trying to break this crank bolt loose. This is how I did it last time on that block, and it was the scariest thing, I swear to God, because you literally have a pipe wrench inside of an exhaust pipe sitting on tires with a breaker bar, a socket. It has to be a 3/4 inch impact socket, or you'll snap the 500 foot-pound rated adapter with this, the entire jack handle plus an exhaust pipe on top of that. And it is literally the scariest thing ever to break this bolt. Because, I mean, there's no way you're going to break this just by, like, your hand. I tried on the last block, and it just wouldn't come out. This one, honestly, doesn't look as bad. It doesn't look as fucked. But it's scary, man. And it is a hefty bolt. These are obviously torque to yield. I probably threw it out, to be honest. But it was, oh, it's scary, man. I will say I wish I got this on video. But the bitch bolt is conquered. Like, easy. Okay, so we got all the pistons out. I took off all the timing chain guides. Pretty much everything is off except for the starter, which obviously has no place here. It's just part of my mount, so I haven't removed it yet. And then I gotta take this off to take out the crank. But I'm not gonna do that today. I'm gonna do that whenever I come back. All of our pistons look really good. They all came out super easily. This one I fucking dropped on the ground, which is no bueno. That's not a good thing. I definitely have to mark down the ring orientation on each of these though, because I cannot find that information anywhere, and I need to know that. So it's a couple days later. Today I would like to get off the rear main seal, pull out the crank, and then L&L, you pull it, a junkyard local to kind of Shelby, Charlotte, North Carolina. Has a 95 BMW 740iL. 95s are OBD1. So what that means is that instead of having to set up OBD2 and everything, I can just swap the wiring harness, swap the DME, and then a couple of sensors and the crank pulley. And I can swap it to OBD1. That way it's just plug and play. I can plug it up and it'll start immediately rather than having to tune in OBD2 into this car. So that is huge for me. First, I'm gonna try and get this rear main seal off, and then I'm gonna head straight there because I don't know how long all of that's gonna be there. Last time I was there, everything was sealed up, but that was like a month or two ago. So whenever we go, we will see. Hopefully we get lucky, but you never know. So I was able to break all of them loose with this little tool here. It's just these guys kind of around the edges, all the way down, and then you have two, I think these are 12 mils up top. The only one I wasn't able to get to was this guy right here because of the engine arm, but I think I'll be able to slide in a like a thing of vice grips, a pair of vice grips, and be able to turn that by hand, because none of these were really all that tight, so I'm not entirely worried about that. And honestly, if I take out this little piece, never mind, I thought that would be able to work, but this isn't going to be able to slide up, especially with the way my hand is oriented. There's just no way. So I just got back from the yard. They did have the 95 740, and it had the crank pulley and the wiring harness, but it turns out this wiring harness is actually an OBD2 harness. It doesn't have the second connector here for the OBD1 port. But that's okay. I mean, these DMEs are a lot cheaper. It's like $30, and an EWS is like $200. So rather than like $700 for an EWS delete, this is a much better option. And I think I'm going to try this out first, because I mean, if I get the EWS delete that I was looking at originally with this single connector DME rather than the multi-connector, where there's more than one connector down here that'll plug into your DME. The single connector DME, it comes with, you can get it tuned. So I can raise my rev limiter to say 7,000 RPMs right off the bat, rather than, you know, having to get an EWS delete for $700 and then go get a custom tune. I can just spend $400 and get it all. It is kind of annoying because I was really hoping that it was OBD1 because that would have been really cheap and it would have been, I mean, kind of the best option, but this works too. This isn't so bad. Okay, so our rear main seal is off and now we just have our main caps, crankshaft will come out, and then we're down to bare block that I can send off to a machine shop. Crankshaft is out. All the bearings look really good as expected for the main bearings. Crankshaft is right here. There's really no, bad looking wear on any of these journals, so that's fine. And then all of our, our upper caps look fine as well. So now that this is pretty much down to bare block, I have to disassemble the heads. But before I do that, I'm gonna see if I can call the machine shop and see, try and get a quote on what it would cost to get these things machined. So I called the machine shop and apparently they can't hone it. Their machines are built for small block Chevys, as most things up in Mooresville are. So there's really limited options for honing on an M62. But what they said they could do is they could check the block, and then they could deck the heads and deck the block as well. It just kind of takes the stress away from me, and I really don't have to worry about it. And I don't know, if they say that it's good, I trust them that it's good. There's just those few lines that I want to make sure aren't really going to give me an issue. Next video, hopefully I'll be tearing down these, and hopefully all of our suspension will be in, all of our components will be here. We'll be installing the rear trailing arms, we'll be installing the rear subframe, and hopefully this guy can sit on its own weight.